All right, Wildcats, back at it, week 2 of our quarantine, and yeah, I'm excited to be able to jump back in and at least talk at you. I tell you, it's been weird kind of going through these past couple of days, kind of taking you guys through these lessons without actually interacting with you guys. I truly do hope everyone is doing well, dealing with this as best as possible. I have heard from a couple of you through email, and I'm taking into account some of those things you had questions about, including the fact that I hear that one person did say it was a little bit difficult for you guys to hear me on this. So this should be a little bit better, and if it's not, please make sure you let me know. But all right, back at it. So obviously, a couple of things on the daily agenda. First of all, the brackets are due today. Make sure you get those brackets in for our March Madness. I tell you, it's been a lot of fun kind of getting this squared away, and kind of shout out to some of the people who have put theirs in already. Or Isabel Taylor got yours in, Libby got yours in, Beth got yours in, Madison, Sarah, Navia, Jenna. This was too hard. Okay, I'm sorry. Mia, so pretty cool seeing you guys kind of put your predictions in. Again, just an easy and simple way to be able to have some fun. Look to kind of do a March Madness type of thing with a bracket. The voting will open up with tomorrow's e-learning module that I push out. I will start the tournament tomorrow, and we'll have our first vote, and you'll have a certain amount of time to go in and vote to see who you think should win out of all of these. That's where the fun really lies, kind of getting you guys the opportunity to not see ads, sorry, but instead for you to be able to go in and vote and see who you and we all believe the actual the most influential psychologist is out of all of those that we need to know for the AP test. Speaking of that AP test, let's go back to this. I had shared some information with you last week. I know I was a little bit vague in terms of my email to everybody in terms of what the AP test is actually going to be. We know it's going to be at home, but what it's actually going to be, I'd shared in the video that I'm almost positive that is going to be a series of FRQ questions, and I'm going to stick to that at this point and almost completely prepare you for that. So if you notice in Schoology, in the eLearning 2020 folder, I've actually opened up another folder, and it is called AP Test Review Quarantine Version. I tell you, this is going to be the most unique AP test review that I've ever done, but all you have to do is click on that. I'm going to start dumping material into this folder. I've already done one thing for you, and that is I've given you access to this file. You just go ahead and click it. The file will open up. I'll have to open it up here. You guys don't need that. Sorry, guys. We'll use this file viewer on Schoology. Specifically what I did was I looked to give you guys an outline and understanding of what the different terms out of all the past FRQs have been from about 2009 through 2019, but also specifically for the questions and units that you are going to be expected to have covered. Again, we are in the midst of our last unit that we need to cover. They obviously cut that short because of this quarantine that's been going on, but what I've done, and you can read through everything here, what I've done is out of the past 10 years or so, I've listed how many times each of these terms have been utilized on the FRQ specific questions. So you can see operational definition has been used 6 times. That's one we probably should know. Experiment has been used 6 times. Mean, median, those have been used once in the past 10 years. Same thing for all of these. So as you're looking through each of these for every one of the chapters that we've covered, I will really encourage you, if you look at one of these and say, I kind of don't know what it is, you need to know what it is. You really need to look that up and make sure you're just simply good to go. Now, obviously, this is part of what I'm going to be doing here and preparing you, and so we're going to be going over a lot of these in unique ways, in large part ways I'm still trying to get my head around, but that is going to be something that we're going to be doing. Honestly, start looking at this. These are all of the terms that they've utilized in the past. You should know these ones. With that said, we obviously need to continue some of our material, and let's talk quickly about the Quarantine Spirit Week. I hope that you are kind of aware of that Spirit Week. You can see it on Twitter. I posted for today's Staying Active and your favorite team I posted that on Twitter. Hopefully you're following kind of what some of the other teachers in the building and even students in the building have been putting out there. Again, creating that sense of community where we're all sitting at home behind computers. The hope is that Wildcat Pride is a very real thing, and you can see it when you go look at the hashtag PHS Spirit 2020. Just click through some of those. It's a pretty cool thing. So we're all thinking of you as teachers. I for sure am. I know this is a really weird time and tough time, but hey, we're going to get through this together, so we'll be good. But in large part today, the goal is to take you guys through Carl Jung's theory of personality, while also giving you some information about how to do your first progress check within all the psychodynamic theory and introductory material for personality on College Board. So that's going to be the goal. We'll see. This might be broken up into 2 sections again. Hopefully, again, I only got 15 minutes, so I try and talk as quickly as possible while also getting you the information. You might have to do 2 videos again. We will see. So, to start off, obviously we're continuing from the material from last week, from Sigmund Freud's research on the stages of development. Today what we need to do is start talking about the Neo-Freudians, or as sometimes they're called, the social psychodynamics. Obviously the prefix neo, that just means new, and so we are talking simply about the New Freudians. The New Freudians are in large part a series of about 3 individuals who you really need to have the understanding of. Erik Erikson from previous chapter, remember the theory of development, ego, integrity versus despair and onward, and before that. He's also technically a Neo-Freudian, but for these are the Neo-Freudians who really had an element of personality development in their theories. Now, I will go back to this. I did get a question also on where my reading for you was actually posted. It was posted on ELearning number 3, so it is this ELearning number 3, the social psychodynamics. Please make sure you read through that. That's all going to be about Alfred Adler and Karen Horney. The other 2 social psychodynamics you need to know, but the one I'm going to talk about with you here is simply the man, the myth, the legend, Carl Jung. Truly, Carl Jung, you can see Time Magazine's psychologist or Man of the Year. Carl Jung is interesting because of his theory being so similar to Freud, but also diverging fairly starkly, right? For all the Neo-Freudians and the social psychodynamics, they simply look to add a little bit more of the societal impact onto the id, ego, superego than Freud did. Carl Jung actually took that a step further and redesigned the theory of the mind according to from Sigmund Freud into his own. So, according to Carl Jung, then. Let's get a little bit into his background first. Carl Jung was interesting not only in the fact that he was a contemporary of Sigmund Freud, was a student of his, but also he was interesting because of his educational background. Carl Jung actually studied in the majority of his undergrad and even graduate school work. He studied ancient cultures and mythology, and that in large part kind of created some of his stark theories of what the mind and one component of the mind might come from. And so in studying mythology and reading several languages, most Western languages, Sanskrit, Holy Hindu books, he started to find some interesting things where there's some real stark connections between what we as humans fall back on in terms of kind of models of behavior, if you will, while also trying to look at kind of the question of how do we know when we fall into one of those models of behavior based upon a life experience, how do we know how to act? So for instance, for me as a father, how did I know what a father meant? Sure, yes, Carl Jung would argue, yes, my own personal father would have an impact, but he actually believed that there's something bigger than that gave all humans all around the world this understanding of fatherhood, or what a mother means, or a hero, or a villain. He believed that there's these components of us that is actually kind of created within our unconscious that connects us with every other human, which I'm going to get to here in a second. So, his 3 basics. Carl Jung does create the 3 components of the mind, just like Sigmund Freud, and he also shares the idea of the ego being the thing that is the decider, that is the you, that is the conscious portion of your mind. But the other 2, he diverges away from Sigmund Freud's theory of the id and the superego, and instead creates the 2 unconscious. He calls them the personal unconscious and the collective unconscious. Now, these 2 parts of the mind still kind of operate together and work together to do a couple of things, but they're a little bit different, actually very different from what Sigmund Freud believed. So let's break it down. First of all, again, the ego, in large part, according to Carl Jung, Jung is the same for Sigmund Freud. It is the self, it is the conscious mind, it is the thing that's deciding and working, but it is going to be impacted by the two unconscious. The first of the unconscious that we need to talk about is the personal unconscious, right? This is going to be the component of your mind that is, again, not aware, not in your awareness, but it is going to include not only number one, repressed memories, things that are similar to Sigmund Freud, but also things that we can fairly easily bring to our consciousness. And so you're going to see as I talk about some of the archetypes that we're going to discuss, those are going to be stored in the personal unconscious. Now, we also will have some universal archetypes that lie in what he called the collective unconscious. Now, the collective unconscious is really, really, really interesting. And normally at this time I draw something on the board to kind of show it, but I can't. So I'll just use words and kind of maybe move around my mouse a little bit. So according to Carl Jung, the collective unconscious is this thing, this part of all of our minds that connects us to every other human on Earth. And actually, Carl Jung argued that it not only connects us to every other human on Earth, it actually also connects us to every human who has ever lived. He believed that there's this component of us that is just common and shared that allows for universal concepts and beliefs to be shared across the human race. He believes that this link to humankind can be specifically seen in the personality parallels in different cultures, even throughout time. And so, obviously, some of you have read or will have to read in college for sure, something like the Iliad by Homer. The Iliad is obviously a famous epic poem, kind of discusses the Battle of Troy and the aftermath as well a little bit. But Carl Jung utilized this as one of his best and most stark examples of the collective unconscious. We can find all of the same personality features of humans today in the Iliad that was written, and actually wasn't even written at first, it was just simply a spoken poem. But we're talking about a millennia ago, we're talking thousands of years ago. But the same elements of human personality can be found in that text. Now, obviously, there's plenty of other explanations for that, just humans being humans. But according to Carl Jung, he believed that it is this collective unconscious that is kind of our link to even kind of a Trojan soldier or even Achilles who lived back during that time. This is the thing that is the link. Now, he did believe that this component of our mind does contain what are called archetypes, and the archetypes are what are really important. So, an archetype, for our purposes, is kind of a model of behavior, okay? He believed that they were inherited from ancient civilizations. They are concepts for behaviors or for roles or positions in society that are understood by all cultures across all time periods. And they are going to specifically create our personality. So our personality development actually comes from what are called archetypal figures within history. So, looking at my time, I see that there is only a couple minutes left, so I'm going to go ahead and pause this one and upload. And I will start the next video talking about the universal archetypes.